Hi everyone, Julie is here. I'm glad to see my channel here for this fruition. And the theme of today's video will be Irish horror movies. Top 5. So let's begin. Review for true connoisseurs, and for me, for example, our realities are enough. I'm avoid such movies. For me, it's very strange, dubious pleasure. Although there were certainly attempts to watch horror, it all boiled down to the fact that I could sit in the cinema hall with my eyes closed for the entire film and think about something vital. It's amazing that I haven't fallen asleep yet. Although I have my own personal record. I tried to watch a very interesting movie, detective genre, and fell asleep on it exactly 8 times and in the same place. 6 times at the cinema and 2 times at home. Someone may say, why this insane thing so many times? Firstly, it was in Ireland where there was unlimited membership to the cinema. Secondly, the time to get used to the language and moment that any movie is like good practice. And thirdly, it's a matter of principle that this time I definitely not going to sleep. Write in the comments the films on which you fell asleep. It should be noted that horror genre is perceived differently by everyone. For some, horror is a necessary violent scene. For some, horror is some kind of everyday reality psychedelic. As for me, on the contrary, you need to fill your life with as much positive as possible and prefer diametrically opposite movies that shows the best in people. That's why next time we will analyze with you Irish comedies. Well, for those who still like to tickle their nerves, I present you my top 5.
Grabbers. Our review opens with a rather unusual and rare genre. The movie was shot in a combination of comedy style with a horror movie. The movie is very beautifully filmed. Every now and then, panoramas of magnificent Irish landscapes appear before the audience. Moreover, the movie was shot during the most severe winter in Ireland for the last 100 years. Atypical blizzards, storms, and sub-zero temperatures constantly interfered, creating difficult conditions for filming. The director of the film, John Wright, himself an Irishman with special love, conveys all the beauty of these places and the details of the mentality of the local population. The picture also sounds a lot of national songs. In a word, this is such an atmospheric movie. Separately, I would like to note the selection and play of actors, which is actually a rarity today, especially in themes of similar genres. It's felt that the actors play with soul and their characters are written very well and quickly dispose the viewer to themselves. Even episode grows and bright and memorable. Such a mixture of horror style with comedy is quite rare in war cinema. So for one style you want to watch this movie, not to mention the twisted script and funny dialogues. This movie is divided into 3 parts: the beginning, the exploration, and the first stage that can make you smile, get drunk, and forget. Quite a purely Irish approach. Grabbers. The movie was specially made for those who love horror movies about vampires. But here we are not talking about simple vampires who are afraid of the light and die from an aspen stake. Not far from the Irish islands, something from outer space falls. Caught in the sea, bloodthirsty octopus-like aliens attack people. As soon as it becomes clear that the grabbers, as they were later dubbed, do not tolerate alcohol, the inhabitants of the island have a chance to escape from the invaders. Their plan was very simple: to get drunk. Fortunately, even in such a remote but still truly Irish village, there are no problems with alcohol, and the only local bar for one night becomes a refuge for all local residents.
Well, now, no kidding. How do you need to want to escape from reality that at the moment of danger, the instinct of self-preservation works exactly opposite? I'm silent about propaganda, but it's still worth saying a couple words the formation of stereotypes. By the way, subscribe to my channel, mark the bell in order not to miss new release, and push the button if you like this video. Move on. There is a stereotype about Russia, about bears playing the balalaika. That is such a pace, Ireland will soon be populating leprechauns playing in the harp. Jokes and jokes, but I will not support a prolongation drinking lifestyle, even in imaginary salvation, which is directly related to degradation. What if they were much more crippled by habit of local residents to play sport or vegan food, giving up social media, departure from consumer attitude to life, learning diplomatic alien language? What do you think about this? Write your opinion in the comments.
Sea Fever, an intense spectacle in the best traditions of exploratory horror, a fairly good cast, where you can see Connie Nielsen from that same Devil's Advocate, Dougray Scott from many movies, and the leading lady herself, Hermione Garfield, Mission Impossible, Rouge Nation, Mr. Holmes, and others. Island. The girl student studies marine biology, and it's more interesting for her to look through a microscope than to communicate with fellow students. She goes to practice on a small fishing boat, which promises new experience and rich material for scientific research, although the crew is not happy with the passenger, as her red hair is a bad omen. But nevertheless, the captain decides to take a chance and swims into the restricted area, where the ship suddenly gets stuck. It turns out that sea creatures, unknown to scenes, have stuck to the sides of the ship, and they are clearly capable of changing the structure and dissolving everything they touch. This type may not boast a large production budget and a stellar cast, but it managed to cause tension and make the audience look at disbelief towards the dark surface of the sea, on an island surrounded by dark waters. At some point, sea fever really becomes very similar, partly alien, and the audience will have to go through a lot of really creepy moments. However, sea fever has almost completely gone from romantic fiction to science fiction, turning what is happening in them as close as possible to what would happen in reality with ordinary people if what happened to the characters in the movie happened to them. The movie has two features. It scares badly, momentarily, and this is clear minus, but it's able to scare indirectly, because after watching you involuntarily begin to wonder if some creature similar to the terrible organism from sea fever lives in the depths of the sea. After all, the world ocean is poorly studied, or they do not seek to study it. Wake Wood. Unexpectedly original ethno-horror in a stream of advertised but predictable dummies. Even delusional plot does not spoil the impression, which in words slightly gives off delirium tremens. However, in the movie the story looks very organic due, first of all, to the magnificent, magical landscapes of Overcast Island, its frozen sky and bloodthirsty pagan legends. Again, fans of zombies need not worry, this is not very moody. Fans of special effects, all the more so. Europeans are traditionally strictly with this tinsel. The main actor is Irish. Aidan Gillen is an Irish television veteran film actor. He is the best known for his role as Peter Baelish on Game of Thrones, but has also starred in Peaky Blinders, on Blitz, and many others. Eve Bertothel is an Irish actress. She is best known for her role as Rosie in the movie A Fond Kiss, and also in such movies as Brooklyn, Noble, Kids and others. On the birthday of the little daughter of veterinarian, a terrible tragedy occurred. The child was beaten to death by a shepherd dog, which her father nursed. The parents, crushed by grief, moved to the town of Wakewood. Here, Patrick and Louis are trying to start a new life, but soon they become aware of mystical secret of the local forest. It turns out that it's able to return the dead to life for 3 days, after which the deceased must again return to the world of the dead. Grief-stricken parents and excited by the opportunity to see their own daughter again, Patrick and Louise accept an unexpected offer from the elders of the town to perform the rite of resurrection. But soon they will realize that it will be hard for them to give up the temptation and resist not leaving their daughter with them, when no one knew how much evil a zombie girl would bring from the infernal world. At the same time, the majority will like the ending. Those who are familiar with one of Stephen King's best novel, Pet Sematary, will easily notice in Wakewood a frank borrowing of the main idea of the mentioned bestseller. But if you think about it like that, everyone would like to return a loved one, but would everyone want to in this way? In fact, something must remain that people are not subject to. Otherwise, the consequence can be the most unpredictable. The Last Confession of Alexander Pierce. A 2008 Australian-Irish movie directed by Michael James Rowland and starring Irish actors Adrian Dunbar as Philip Connolly and Kieran McMenamin as the bushranger Alexander Pierce. I must say right away that this is a difficult movie with very unpleasant scenes, dragged out, not for the faint of heart. Moreover, based on real events, the action of which takes place in 1824 and tells about the last days of the life of the most bloody and famous criminal of Australia, sentenced to death. For those who are interested in films based on real events, check out my review of the same name. The main character of the film is an Irish prisoner serving a sentence in the Australian lands on Van Diemen, the current island of Tasmania, named Alexander Pierce. The British penal colony in Australia is literally a hell on earth, where prisoners had to cut wood in the most severe conditions of hunger, dampness, and mud to build river and sea vessels. The most amazing thing is that the hero was exiled by the British court to these lands after stealing shoes. Chained to the wall in a dark cell, Pierce is visited by Father Connolly, the parish priest and his countrymen. Connolly spent 3 days with the condemned, listening to confession about what really happened when Pierce was on the run in Virgin Tasmania. After all, he escaped from the most isolated prison on earth, along with a group of other prisoners, where there was only an impenetrable forest and an ocean around them, and only one of them managed to survive. Pierce shared the horrifying story of his 3 months of wandering the Tasmanian wilderness. The priest writes down Pierce's last confession and gives the public his whole heartbreaking story. But were his sins forgiven after being told? By the way, there is an almost identical movie called Van Diemen's Land, a movie on a similar plot but realized a year later. Shrooms. The plot is quite simple, a lot of mysticism, while there is no meat grinder. A group of teenagers from America succumbed to the persuasion of an Irish friend and all together decided to make an exciting trip to Ireland. Jake undertakes to show his friends all the sights of the Green Island. There are many stunning landscapes, forests, meadows, lakes in the picture. And in order to feel the charm of the journey, the guys decide not to settle in hotels and motels, but to set up camp in the wild, in the forest surrounding the long-abandoned orphanage. Jake tells his friends about a legend that terrifies the inhabitants of these places. Once upon a time, two brothers lived here who, having tasted poisonous shrooms, turned into killers and now roam the local forest looking for their victims. One of the girls, Tara, inadvertently tries an unusual-looking shroom, which, as it turned out, has very dangerous properties. The person who ate it, if he does not die immediately, then acquires supernatural druidic abilities. He can communicate with the souls of the dead and foresee the future. And now Tara no longer understands where reality is. As a result, a chain of terrible events develops, and the ending of the movie will surprise you terribly. The cast is mostly made up of American actors, among whom you can meet a familiar personality in the role of lonely twins. Jack Gleeson, an Irish actor, best known for his role as Joffrey Baratheon in the television series Game of Thrones. The film belongs to the PG-13 horror rating, which has almost no special age restrictions. There is one of the best representative of PG-13, shoot more terrible than all its competitors. When Shrooms was released, it received generally negative reviews, but it has since become a cult classic among horror fans. Of course, someone loves this movie, someone does not. In any case, after watching, the desire to taste shrooms there will definitely not be.
Whew. Well, I said so much, but I got a lot of stuff to talk about. See you next thematic video.